I want to start with a little bit of an activity. And I'm going to ask you a question before we get into that. So all of you that are business owners, all of you that are entrepreneurs, all of you that are out there making your own path, some of you are just beginning, some of you have had a business for a long time. It's all just been peaches and cream, hasn't it? Everything's perfect, everything's easy, it just falls into place. Never had an issue. It's the dream life, right? Okay, you two are liars, I got it. But there's a reason it's not supposed to be. I want to teach you today a little bit about the path I've been on that got me to where I am. And I'm going to use that as an example to show you how to create that business of your dream in a way that's specifically you. Almost everything that I talk about, almost everything that I teach, almost everything I mentor on is around the power of you. Because when you are in tune with and true to your highest self, and only you know who that is, you naturally create your happiest life. So, for this little experiment, I need 2 volunteers. Naomi, come be our positive person.
You got it.
Okay. I need a negative person volunteer. Who's our skeptic?
I'm really good at that.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. So, notice I've got on the board a purple positive and a red negative. I'm going to tell you my story. This is how I'm going to introduce myself. And as I tell my story, you guys are going to tell them what hash marks to put up here. Because I've had good things that have happened. I've had bad things that have happened. So if I were to tell you 4 days ago my grandfather passed away, what would you say?
That's really awkward.
Very sorry.
Well, thank you. What I want you to say is negative, so that he knows to put a hash mark. Don't do it yet. It's not part of the story. So let's try that again. My grandfather passed away 4 days ago.
Wasn't expecting.
Negative.
Negative. Try it one more time. Come on, only one person participating. My grandfather passed away 4 days ago.
Negative.
Negative.
Okay. About a month ago,
Good job.
I won free ice cream for a year.
Positive.
Well, that was a huge positive. Negative. Someone is lactose intolerant. But, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you my story. You're going to call out in the middle of the story, don't worry about interrupting, negative or positive when you hear something that is negative or positive, and they're going to put hash marks. You guys know what you're doing? Okay. So my story starts when I first went to college.
Negative.
You put them up there. You guys are in charge, not me. I'm telling the story.
That was a positive.
There you go. Someone said positive, someone said negative. Give us 2 hash marks. So, it starts when I went to college. I was in musical dance theater
Negative.
because I was going to be the next Broadway star.
Positive.
Okay? So this is what happened. As I went through college, slowly but surely realized this dream of Insta fame isn't just going to fall in my lap the way I thought. And it might actually take some work.
Positive. Oh, negative. Negative. Ooh, negative.
So,
That's positive.
I stepped away from that dream. But what I loved doing was I loved going to school. I loved being in the classes. I loved learning new things. I loved exploring theories. I loved getting into the social aspects of how people behave. I loved, you name it. There wasn't a class that I didn't dip my finger into.
Positive. Positive. Positive.
There you go. And as this was happening, finally it dawned on me what I want to do is stay in college the rest of my life.
Negative.
So I decided I had to become a professor. And I started looking around at different opportunities, at different departments, and decided, well, what type of a professor do I want to become? And it finally got to the point I was in undergrad so long that I picked what was the shortest thing to get out of undergrad. I have a bachelor's in history. Ask me if I've ever used it for anything. The answer is no. So, with my bachelor's in history, and I actually went through the history honors program, I had a recommendation to Texas Christian University to get my PhD. And this is even before I got a master's. Yes, positive.
Positive.
So, I go to Texas Christian University. This is fantastic.
That's positive.
Yeah, it's a great place. Until after that first year, I got a really ominous letter. And I opened this letter wondering why they sent me a letter instead of the head of department just talking to me, because I knew him very well. And in the letter it said, "We regret to inform all of our graduate students that for the next year, we will be cutting off all funding for graduate programs. You may pay for yourself."
That's a positive.
No.
He's kind of got his poles reversed here. But this letter shocked me.
He's experienced flight.
He's probably getting to the punchline.
Yeah.
So, I looked at this letter. I am newly married. I have a new baby. I can't afford to pay for a PhD program. I mean, my wife then was a nurse, so we had a decent income coming in while I was playing around in school the rest of my life. But there's no way I could put that burden on her. So I got out of the program.
Negative.
And decided, what am I going to do now? Luckily in Texas, they had this huge campaign going on. Billboards everywhere that said, if you have a bachelor's degree, you can teach in our school districts because we need teachers. We are
Awesome.
desperate. So I went to every school district in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Not a single one would hire me.
Negative.
Definite negative. Not a single school district. At this time, my dad, who I hadn't talked to in about 4 or 5 years, calls me. And we had been on the outs for a little while for some interesting conflicts that were just big misunderstandings. And he gets on the phone and he says, son, I'd like to set things right with you. Will you please come visit us for Thanksgiving?
Positive.
And I said, all right, we'll do it. We'll take a chance and come visit you for Thanksgiving. Hung up the phone. We prepared. We decided to drive the 10 hours from Dallas-Fort Worth all the way down to McAllen, Texas.
My
Which,
parents are there.
nice.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know where McAllen is, it
It's
is at the
basically
bottom of
Texaco.
the nation.
It's
It
like
is.
on the border. It's like Mexico. It's like Mexitex or Texaco. Like, yeah.
Oh, it's Mexico.
They're
Let's just
basically
face it.
in Mexico. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's where I was born and raised, by the way. Was way down in Texas, Mexico. So, I drove down there, had Thanksgiving with my dad. It was a really good experience, and we decided to stay a few more days. And just out of curiosity, I went and applied to some school districts down there. Got hired to the first one I applied to.
Positive.
Now we're moving across the state, which I was about to say across the country. Let's face it, Texas is its own country, and it's big enough, it pretty much was. So, I'm teaching in a 3rd grade bilingual classroom. Half the days in Spanish, half the days in English. I am loving this. The kids are responding to me. The parents are telling me that I'm the greatest teacher that their kid has ever had. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And there was this beautiful program that the district told us we had to teach with called Reading First. This is, yes, thank you. Yeah, you can put a couple hash marks for negative on that one. But the Reading First grant went something like this. Here we've got this very simplistic reading book. You can only teach your kids reading out of this book and this book only. You can't use books from the library. You can't use any other books. You can't link it to mathematics. You can't link it to social studies.
Yeah. Negative.
Yeah. My kids, by the time they're about to take the reading test, are not reading. As a teacher who cares about my kids' success, I am in a panic. And I said, forget this book. It is crap. They don't learn from it. I went to the library, got a copy of Treasure Island. For the next 6 weeks, I taught my 3rd grade class every lesson from that book, whether it was social studies, math, science, English, reading, all came from that one book.
Positive.
Thank you. My kids,
They're too enthralled with your story to answer.
I suppose so. My kids scored exponentially higher than any other 3rd grade class in the district.
Positive.
Definite positive. Until the next day, I got a call from my principal and said, I need to see you.
Positive.
You were not following the Reading First grant, and you could have lost the district the grant money if they found out.
That's a negative.
So we're going to be putting you on a non-renewal list.
That's a negative.
How dare you get good results?
How many of you in here have ever been in public school system as a teacher? Okay, let me explain this then. The non-renewal list
Is death.
is death. Your career is over. You are blacklisted. You will never be a teacher again. Nobody will hire you. My beautiful 1-year career just ended. So,
That's a negative.
thank you. Somebody points that out. I love that you want to point out the positives more than the negatives. This says a lot about you guys.
Really caught up now.
Perfect. So, that summer, I'm in panic again. What am I going to do? How am I going to feed my family? I wasn't making that much as a teacher to begin with. I had a friend of mine who owned a property company, property management company, who came to me. He knew how techie I was. He knew how much I had been into programming computers when I was a kid. And I've been programming since I was about 8 years old. And he said, can you build me a website? Now this is back in the early 2000s, before the website design market was saturated with people who could do it. This is before everybody's nephew could get on and plug into WordPress and do something. So I
That's a
looked at him.
positive.
Yeah, it's a positive. So I looked at him,
Sleeping on the job.
and having never done a website before, I said, oh yeah, of course I can.
That's a positive.
And I started learning. I went and I learned. And I went and I took every class I could get my hands on. And after about a month, he had a website that was way more than he expected. I had a $1,000 check in my hand.
Wow, that's a really cheap website.
Yes, it is. But I looked at this check.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a step forward. I'll take it as a positive. I was excited. I had this check that I had not had before, and I didn't do it by going to get a job. I did something for someone. I gave them value. They gave me money. Maybe I could do more of this. So I tucked that check in my pocket, and I said, I'm going to go find more websites to build. I was one of 2 people in the entire South Texas region at the time that built websites.
It's positive.
I had all the customers I could handle. I hired a team of developers. I hired a team of designers. I hired a team of project managers.
Positive.
I bought and had my own development center. This is freaking fantastic.
But you're still in Texas.
Oh, it's even better. So, the one thing I did not like, I hated the administration of my business. I didn't like bookkeeping. I didn't like accounting. I didn't like having to run the books and doing the numbers and do reports. And I didn't care about that. I just wanted to build websites and get checks. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's not gonna work out so well.
Yeah, no. So, to speed up my story a little bit, I ended up finding a partner who was a friend of mine because we went to the same church. And he was the other guy that did websites. And what he loved
That's
was the
great.
administration of business. And he loved the bookkeeping and the sales and the accounting. And said, I really don't want to do the development.
That sounds terrific.
So we partnered up. About 5 months after he took over all the books, my draw on a regular basis went down to 0. We were making well over 6 figures. And I found out, luckily through one honest person that caught what he was doing, he'd started a company underneath secretly, was sabotaging all our projects so he could get the upfront check, then taking his company to come in and save them and get more money out of them. And lo and behold, I was faced with a dilemma. Do I try to fight for the money? Do I save my reputation? So I went to him and I said, I know what you're doing. I know about your other company. This is your mess. I'm walking away. You can have everything. You can have all the computers, the development center, the employees, they're yours. I want nothing. I want nothing to do with this that you've created. My reputation is too important. But guess where that left me? No. Yeah. I'm at square one again. I now have a family that I still don't know what I'm going to do to provide for. Little by little, some of the clients from that company came and found me and said, okay, we still want to work with you. We liked you. We didn't like him. And I started shifting to doing IT services and ended up getting a gig where we served as the IT director for a chain of optical stores and started to work to get them automated. I was now netting 6 figures a year. I'm loving it. As a young kid, this is perfect. I had a beautiful house in South Texas. I'm netting 6 figures a year. I'm 10 minutes away from my kids, who my ex-wife and I lived about 2 minutes apart from each other at that moment.
Sorry, George.
Hi, George.
How we doing?
So, I'm loving life. And in the middle of all this, I have 2 clients that I'm doing internet marketing for in Utah. One was a car lot, one was a law firm. Every time I worked with those clients, I felt that I should pack up and move to Utah, which made no logical sense. I'm living next to my kids. I've got a good career. I've got a home. But I kept feeling that pull. So eventually, I took that leap of faith and I did it. I got rid of everything, got rid of the house, Got rid of all my clients that weren't in Utah and came out here and figured from these two I can rebuild. Come to find out, a week after I did that, the chain of optical stores sold to a nationwide company whose first thing they did when they bought the company was to say, all IT people are fired. We have our own department that handles that. So, now I'm in Utah. First summer I go to drive, get my kids, bring them back. The day after I get back from doing that, walk into both my clients, make sure everything's good while I was out to go pick up my kids, and have a very similar conversation with the owners of both companies. And it went something like this. You know, we've seen the way you're marketing and what you're doing online for us, and it's amazing. You're getting great results. You are really good at it. But we think we could do it too because it looks really easy. So we don't need you anymore.
You did too well.
I showed them everything I was doing. How I was vulnerable. And now I have nothing again. And I'm frustrated. I'm a single dad with 4 kids in an apartment in Salt Lake City, thinking by now I should have rebuilt to having that house in 6 figures again. Nothing. I had one thing that I did for me.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
You guys aren't participating anymore. Come on. We're having to do it up here on our own.
And I promise we're almost to the end of this, and then we're going to talk about why we did it. So, to make a long story short, I love to sing. I would go to karaoke as my outlet. Because
I would say that's a neutral.
it made me feel good. And eventually, the person whose show I like to go to the most asked me if I'd cover his show while he was in surgery. And then he started to help me get my own company going. And little by little, I said, oh, why are all these people who love karaoke in Utah doing this as one show here, one show there, and doing these one shows everywhere? Why isn't there a company that kind of manages all that? Started a company. Ended up pulling in a partner to help me with that company. And we decided in some really innovative ways to make us stand out above what the karaoke scene was here in Utah. One of the things we did is we printed on a newspaper our entire song list. Now people could take it home. They could look at the songs every week and go, oh, they have this. I'm going to go back next week and sing that. I haven't heard that song in about 10 years. And to pay for the printing, we sold ad space. Now we're building some business connections here.
Positive.
Yeah, very positive. I love we've got one neutral here. But
It's karaoke itself.
then my brilliant partner came up with the idea, why are we just printing a song list? Why don't we put articles in there? Why don't we put some things in there that people could really dig into the meat of, that maybe talk about the emotional benefits of getting out and singing and jumping out of your comfort zone? And idea after idea, it morphed. It morphed from a song list in a newspaper to a magazine called The List that was an entrepreneur publication in Utah for a few years. And it was growing like wildfire. We had people all over the place that go, oh, you guys are The List? Oh, I read that issue and you did this article on this place and that's amazing. And we started to build this community of entrepreneurs. And we had regular get-togethers, we had meet and greets, we had educational pieces, you name it, it was just flowing in. Now, here's where that interesting curveball comes in for this one. We did not want to sell our magazine. We wanted to give it away. So we had to sell a lot of ad space to cover the printing. So much so that there's no way we could fit the number of ads needed to print.
It's a negative.
We went into so much debt that a few years later, we're still in debt from that company.
It's a negative.
Yeah, you can put a few negatives up there.
Negative.
One thing we learned though, with all these entrepreneurs that came and met with us is, hey, every single one of them asked one thing and one thing only. And not one thing only, but it was a very frequent question. How do I get on Facebook and social media and find more clients and get more business? Because I know this guy's doing it, he's making millions. How do I do it? So we thought, well, this is the problem they have. If we can provide them the solution, money and success, right? Easy formula. So we started a Facebook ad agency. Here's how it went. We loved what we got involved in because of that. We were able to work with the Murray Area Chamber of Commerce and develop an entire educational program. George is smiling because he was very much part of that, called the Power Player University, where we got to teach entrepreneurs some key skills that helped them succeed. And I was loving it. Yeah, I was loving watching them just launch. We had a gentleman, for example, that was an insurance salesman that came to our graduation from that education piece and said, you know, before I took this, the highest policy I would write is $10,000. Now, the lowest policy I write is $50,000. That's success. And I was loving it. And then we'd sit down and we'd meet with a client and say, oh, well, let's get to know your business. Let's dig into the nuts and bolts. We're going to come up with a creative way to launch this campaign so you get attention online. It's wonderful. And that part of the business was amazing. Now here's the back end. Me, my partner, and another partner we pulled in to manage us would sit around and have a meeting that went something like this. Oh, wasn't it your turn to write up the copy for that ad that we need to launch today? Oh no, I thought Jessica was going to do it. Well, no, wait. Who was going to do that graphic? Oh, I don't know. Maybe that was Jolene. No, Jolene can't do graphics. Maybe it was you. All three of us hated being on Facebook.
Need project management software badly.
It's a huge negative. So, we hated being on Facebook. Needless to say, that company does not exist anymore. But the one thing I learned from it, and I, during some of my education after my divorce, became a certified life coach. Well, the education was a positive. But I became a certified life coach. I've been a certified life coach for about 8 years now. I've done a lot of coaching, I've done a lot of mentoring, I've done a lot of teaching. And I found that with every company along the way, whether it was web design, whether it was the Facebook ad agency, or any other company, I love to teach. I love to speak. I love to consult. I love to mentor and watch people just go, oh, I get it, and do something with their life. And that's why you see me doing what I'm doing now. Okay, so we're going to stop. How many positives, how many negatives? Does it look like I've had an overall positive experience or an overall negative one?
Positive.
I think more positive.
It's a little more positive, but there's a lot of negatives on there, right? Thank you, by the way.
Yeah.
Give our volunteers a round of applause. So here I'm going to kind of put to rest something that I think we get stuck in. We get stuck in this idea of positive and negative things happening to us. And to create a miraculous life, to create miracles in your business, you've got to get out of that micro perspective and get into a macro one. I'm going to use a quick example. What if my partner had never stolen my web design company from me?
Still be doing it, possibly.
I'd probably still be in South Texas doing a web design company. By the way, I hate websites. I hate being behind a computer. It's not me. What if I never went to sing karaoke?
But you did say at the time you loved it.
I love the success of it, and I love the attention of it, if I'm being honest. And that's when I started doing my first presentations, because people wanted me to train them on how to use a website with their business, you name it. But no, I didn't like the work of it. I got money for it.
That's positive.
Absolutely. This activity's
In the
over.
middle.
So, I want to propose to you, every single one of these experiences and hash marks you see up here, every single one of them was a miracle on my path to where I am now. And it's happened to every one of you. You are sitting where you are now with the decisions you are making, with the choices you have, because you have had the universe conspire to get you to this moment. If I hadn't gone to sing karaoke when I was feeling stressed, never would have had the business partner who keeps me in line. And she keeps me in line. If I hadn't trusted my gut and moved to Utah, I never would have had the opportunities I've had here, to meet the people I've met here, to meet amazing business owners like George Wilkinson. Every one of these is not positive or negative. It is just a piece of creating my happiest life. And here's the issue. Tell me if you guys can familiarize with any of these thoughts. Well, if only I had more capital, I could do this. Well, if only I knew somebody who could teach me how to do this piece, I'd be better at what I'm doing. Well, if only I had connections to the right people, I could do that and succeed as well. Your if-onlys are stopping you from having more positive miracles happen in your business and your life. And I'm going to tell you, I was the king of this. You know, if only somebody would give me a chance and give me an opportunity and hand it to me, I could succeed. Well, if only somebody would discover how brilliant I am, then obviously they want me to be at the top of something. Our if-onlys block us over and over and over again. And the reality is this: your if-onlys are just a decoration of a fear. Now, we talk a lot about fear, especially as entrepreneurs. There's a lot of scary times out there, especially that first time you go to a client and say, will you give me money? But I want to propose to you that there's only one fear. There's only one fear that all humankind shares, and that is the fear of failure. It doesn't matter why you're not doing something. It's because you do not believe it will work the way you expect it to. And that's what failure is. The idea that this didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Or the idea that you didn't get what you wanted out of it. What if? Now, how many of you have been there? How many of you have been at that lowest point in your life? That point where, man, do I go on? Do I give up? I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. Or you might be sitting in a room like this and you're looking around at people who have had some success and go, I don't know how they do it. Why am I here? That's a very frustrating place to be in. That is a hopeless place to be in. But I will tell you, let's change your perspective just a little bit. What if being at that moment is exactly the place you needed to be, with the people you needed to be with, so that you were directed to where you were happiest? What if it was exactly what needed to happen? And you wouldn't have given up what you needed to give up otherwise to actually create what you're happy with. Remember at the point when, hey, I'm making 6 figures as a web designer? Sure, I could have been content. I wouldn't be happy like I am now if that wasn't taken away from me. So the reality is this. Now, when I say the word miracles, I know this sounds kind of religious and kind of spiritual. I am a very spiritual man. I am very practical, though, too. I like to take these principles and say, okay, how do I apply that to my life? If that's real, what do I do? Give me some steps. And I'm going to give those to you today. But when I say miracles, what I'm talking about is any unexpected opportunities, any unmeditated meetings, any coincidental circumstances, or any unplanned curveballs that come into your life. All of them are miracles because they direct you in a place you wouldn't have gone otherwise. And you, every single one of you that's hearing me right now, you are such a special, unique, amazing, individual part and piece of this universe that if you didn't exist the way you are, with your desires, with your strengths, with your weaknesses, with all the traits you bring to the table, the way they are found in you, the universe itself would cease to exist. Because it can't be without that piece, and you're a part of it. So think about this. How many of you would just like to get rid of one of your pinky fingers? Anybody? I mean, what does it do? Seriously, it's in the way. Anyone want to volunteer to get rid of their pinky finger? Be done with it?
Know what you're offering.
I'm just offering to take your pinky finger. But you see, there is an opportunity cost there, and that's a whole different topic for a different day. But just like you want all the parts of you to be as happy as possible and as healthy as possible and work as well as possible, so does the universe itself want all the parts of it to be as happy as possible. So even if you're just that little pinky finger, it wants you to fulfill a purpose. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in the external labels. So how many of you have ever heard this? And I'll tell you, my greatest fans and my biggest obstacles in my life as an entrepreneur, who do you think they've been?
Family and friends.
Yes. How many of you had that experience? You've got this amazing idea, you're going to do it, oh, you know this is your calling, you feel it, and some well-meaning family or friend goes, well, you really shouldn't do that. Doesn't make any sense. Well, how are you going to make it doing that? The reality is this, only you, when you're in tune with your higher self, know what path is right for you. And only you know what steps to take. And the universe, through miracles in your life, will direct you there. Now here's the key to making all of these become purples. Now, I shouldn't say all, because you're still going to have some negative things that happen and some things that are painful, just because that's the nature of the game. But this is kind of how it works. In fact, we're switching colors here. We've had enough of red and purple. I think it's green time. Okay, for lack of a better word, I'm putting peace up here. We all want peace in our life, right? I'm assuming. Okay, good. So, and part of that is your business. You want it to succeed. You want it to just operate. You want it to just be its own life and be part of that. You want to be able to co-create with this business and make a lifestyle. I'm assuming. Am I wrong for anybody here? Okay, I will take that as a no. So here's what it looks like. Every one of you, and that green doesn't like me. Let's see if this other green does. Okay, every one of you has a path that leads you to your peace, your happiest life, your dream business. And you know, it's interesting. So what is one of the most saturated industries here in Utah? Name it.
Network marketing.
Network marketing. So how many people in here know a network marketer? You know what's interesting? They're still growing. There's still more of them every day. Doesn't matter how many there are, you are so unique. If that's your calling, it's not going to look like anyone else. It's not going to feel like anyone else. You're not going to be presenting yourself the way anyone else does.
If I may
Yes.
say, the doors will open and the universe will conspire. I did 7 network marketing companies, never signed up one person in any of them. I joined another one last year. I earned every incentive program they had last year. I was the top enroller for the company and earned 2 trips, 3 trips now, and the first car that the company gave away.
Fantastic. Now, what if she had succeeded at the other network marketing companies a little bit? Would she be at this other one?
Quite possibly not.
So, your path, whether you're a network marketer or a real estate agent or a life coach, those are your 3 big ones in Utah, by the way. Throw a rock, you will hit one.
Social media is another one.
Yes, that's true. Now, it didn't used to be.
No, but it's everywhere.
It is. So, your path looks different than anyone else's. And when you're taking steps that's on your path, when you're fulfilling your calling, when you are out there saying, yes, I am doing it. This pet store that specializes in iguanas was always my dream and I'm doing it. I'm not doing that, by the way. How does it feel when you know you're on your path? Give me words.
Flow.
Flow. I like that word. Give me some more. How do you feel when you know you're just on the right path and it's working? What?
Happy.
Happy. That's my big one. I love it.
Excited.
Excited. What else?
Purpose.
Purpose. Ooh, I love that.
Replenished.
Rich.
Purpose. I'm going to actually put an EN in front of that. Enriched, because it involves more than just money. To feel rich.
Replenished.
Replenished.
Kismet.
Meaning. Kismet. I like that word. Okay. So, all along the way, you're going to have experiences. You're going to have experiences to the tune of, oh, well, if you want to succeed as a network marketer, you got to do this, this, and this. Or if you want to go succeed as a real estate agent, you have to do things this way. Or, oh, if you want to go succeed as a social media expert, well, you've got to make sure that you are posting this many times a day, because that's what I do, and that's how I succeed. How many of you have followed that advice and it didn't work in whatever industry you're in? Oh, I'm the king of that, by the way. Yes, it doesn't. So when you start to follow that advice and you're trying to think logically and you're trying to say, well, but this is how George does it. How come I can't do it like George does? And why doesn't it work for me? And you're no longer on your path. You're not following George's path. How does that feel? When you're over here, how does that feel?
Uncomfortable.
Lonely. Friction.
Uncomfortable, excuse the handwriting, but I think you guys know what I'm writing. Friction, what else did you say?
Lonely.
Oh, lonely. Big one. What else?
Doubtful.
Doubtful. What else?
Sludge.
Ooh, I like that word. Very icky descriptive. Discouraged, that's a big one. So here's the reality. All of these feelings are usually associated with a situation that has come up. Probably one you didn't necessarily plan for, or a success, or a lack of success you didn't want to have if it's negative, or some amazing success you didn't plan on having that, wow, where did that come from? These feelings are your signs from the universe. When you are on your path, it tells you to keep going by saying, oh, this feels like you have meaning. You feel pretty replenished from this. Your life is enriched. Man, I feel like I have purpose. That's your higher self saying, no, keep going. This is the path. You're on it. Just keep stepping. And then the moment you start to doubt and step off that path, it doesn't feel so good. Those painful feelings are the same thing. It's the universe trying to direct you back to your path. And I know this sounds pretty simplistic for something that's complex, and I'm going to tell you it is not easy to stay on your path, especially when you've got to take some leaps of faith, and your heart might tell you to do something that you think is, that's just insane. Why the heck would I do that? So, what I want to leave you with today are 4 keys. 4 keys to creating more miracles in your life and your business that are positive, that you can flow with, that gets you quicker up this path towards your happiest life, whatever that looks like. I don't know what it looks like for you, and I'm not even going to try to guess. But here are your 4 keys. Number 1, be authentic. I'm sure everyone in this room has been in a meeting where somebody stands up and gives you a script, and you can tell they don't believe it. Yes? Has that ever happened? Come on, give me some response here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. The moment you're true with yourself and realize, hey, I am not where I want to be, but I am where I am. You've empowered yourself to do what you can with what you have from where you are. And as soon as you're authentic, as soon as you admit where you are and whatever that progress is that you want to have, more miracles come. Oh, you're here, but you want to be there. Perfect. Let me send you this experience to direct you that way. Instead of, I'm going to pretend like I'm here because I don't want anyone to know I'm actually here. Oh, you want to keep pretending? That's okay. You can just stay right there. That's fine. We'll let you keep pretending, and it'll still be painful, and no one's going to believe you, and you're not going to get clients until you realize that's not working. Be authentic. Listen. You know, I'm going to teach you a really quick trick. Your heart is where your higher self speaks to you. And it speaks in one way and one way only. It is one simple statement. There is no explanation, there is no story, there is no excuse, nothing. My heart said move to Utah. My brain then came in and said, that's stupid. Why would you do that? Your kids are here. You got a good job. You got a good house. Don't do that. But my heart said move to Utah. Your heart will speak in one statement and one statement only. Your brain, as beautiful as it is, as wonderful as a machine it is just a computer. It is full of information and data from your experiences, from what people have told you is right and wrong, from what situations you've been in life, from stuff you've heard on media, you name it. It's just one thing. Your brain gives you information to support what you choose to do or not do. So the moment I chose to start moving to Utah, my brain switched off of the you shouldn't move to Utah and let me feed you all the information as to why. But the day I started packing, it was, oh, you should go find an apartment in this neighborhood. You should probably go do this. Why don't you go talk to this person? You know, this person probably knows somebody that knows somebody. Your computer, your brain feeds you info to support what you do or don't do. So, let me take you to step number 2. Be accountable. How many of these negative situations were my fault? Point out one that was not my fault.
Not getting hired at any of the school districts when you first left.
Okay? Point out another one that doesn't seem like it's my fault. Anyone?
Lost the funding for your doctor.
Yeah, lost the funding for my doctorate program. I will tell you right now, the most empowering thing I've done for myself, everything on this board is my fault. I made choices every step along the way that got me into that situation. It doesn't mean I chose not to hire myself, and that's not what I'm saying. It doesn't mean that sometimes people do bad things to you and you don't deserve it. That's fine. But everything you have chosen to do or not do up to this point in your life has created the situation that that experience exists in. And the moment you accept that as a truth is the moment you've just empowered yourself to create anything you want from this moment forward. If everything that's happened in my life is my fault, then that means everything that happens from this moment forward is my fault too. Now I can do something about it. I am a huge believer in karma, and I will tell you, I've studied the 12 laws of karma. I put them in my life. I put them in my business practices on a regular basis. And it really boils down to this. The energy you put into something over and over again on a consistent basis will reap great rewards. Whether those rewards are positive or negative depends on what energy you're putting into it. And it doesn't mean you won't have curveballs or these miracles we're talking about. But they'll more quickly direct you towards your happiest life. So number 3, take action. We've kind of already talked about this, but it bears repeating. This is the difference between those who are greatly successful and those who never really make it in life. Those who are greatly successful keep moving and keep taking steps. Every curveball, they modify and move. Those who say, no, I'm stuck where I am and I'm just comfortable here, I'm not going to try, never see their dreams fulfilled. And you take action based on these feelings. If you think about something and it excites you, you should take that step. And remember, your brain is working in this process too. So you think about something, you get in the feeling of, let's say it's, I want to be an author. I'm going to go write a book. But I sit around and don't do it. Pretty soon my brain says, oh, well, you know, you really don't have that great a story. That type of story has already been written. This guy already wrote a book like that. You don't know anybody in the publishing industry. This is going to be an uphill battle. You don't have the time for this. But if I get in that feeling of, oh, I really want to be an author, I'm going to write a book. And within 5 seconds, I sit down and start writing. Guess what my brain does? Oh, well, you know what? You can modify the beginning like this. Or if you put this character in at this moment, I think people might like that. Or if you did this, it would add a little mystery to the story. My supercomputer supports what I choose to do or not do. Take action is one of the most important pieces. And I believe the most important is this last one. Detach from outcomes. Whatever the curveball is, whatever the miracle is that comes into your life, the only reason it feels like a failure is because it didn't go the way you thought it should at the beginning. But what if it went exactly the way it needed to help you create your happiest life? I'll give you another example from my story. So had I known my partner was basically going to steal my company from me, would I have partnered with him? No. But if I hadn't partnered with him and he hadn't stolen my company, would I be here today? the more that you can learn to detach emotionally from the outcomes and just take steps and know, hey, the universe is working with me, conspiring for my greatest good, the more you're going to have the positives, the less you're going to have the negatives. Because what we do as human beings is we force or we fight. We try to force things to happen the way we want them to, because gosh darn it, that's what success looks like. Oh, well, I just put on an event as a speaker and only 2 people showed up. It's not good enough. Compared to, wow, I put on an event and the 2 people that needed to be there were there. There's a big difference. If you are taking the steps that your higher self is leading you on, then you are on the path to your happiest life, to creating that business of your dreams. And the only way that's going to be a more positive experience than a negative is to stop trying to force things to be the way you think they should and kind of flow with how they go. That takes a lot of faith in yourself. That's a very difficult obstacle for many people to overcome. The other thing we do is we fight. We fight, for example, oh, well, I don't want to get up and present to people. I'm just going to go sit in the back of the room. What if presenting to people is exactly what you need to do for you? Well, I don't really want to go do sales calls. I'm just going to talk to George. Okay? So we fight the things that we might feel inspired to do because it's a little uncomfortable. Now, I'm changing this word because I don't like the word uncomfortable, because you need to get somewhat uncomfortable to move forward. But I think, and I hope that whoever said uncomfortable more meant that they just felt out of place. No, you're going to do some things that are uncomfortable. I will tell you, I have spoken to hundreds of people, hundreds of times, and those of you that were here early watched me walk to the restroom before my presentation. Do you know why I did that? Not because I had to use the restroom. Any guesses?
God told you to.
No.
Get up and move.
Because I was nervous. I've taught these principles hundreds of times, but I was nervous to be in front of people.
I think the misnomer about being comfortable versus uncomfortable is that people say like the magic happens outside of your comfort zone.
Yep.
But if you just get out of your comfort zone and you stay there, you will die. So the key is you have to get out of your comfort zone and then get back in, and then get out and get back in. We call it the hokey pokey plan.
I like that idea. And you know what? I'm going to put a little modification on that if you don't mind. So what I teach people over and over again is rather than get out of your comfort zone, push it and stretch it with you.
What happens is you also get out and sometimes you're told not to get back in.
Yeah.
And you hold until your comfort zone expands to encompass you. And that holding can be excruciating.
Absolutely. And that, thank you, that is great wisdom. I hope you guys heard what she said. And that is a whole other lesson we could teach at a
I
whole
am a
other time.
professional comfort zone expander.
There you go.
This is my job title.
So I want to leave you with one thought. First, remember, your 4 keys to having positive miracles happen in your business and just the right people come at the right time that you didn't expect and didn't plan are right there. Be authentic, be accountable, take action, and detach from the outcomes. Now you're empowered to keep moving, no matter what happens. I want to share with you, so I am a singer-songwriter. I've been for about a decade. And I'm going to get my partner to come up and sing with me. I'd like to share a song with you before we leave. It's about a 2-minute song, and then we'll be done. And any of you that would like to ask any questions or get contact info afterwards, just come approach me. But this song is a song I wrote thinking about that third principle of take action and keep moving no matter what. Because with these things that are happening, whether they're positive or negative, you don't know where it's leading you until you get there. So just keep moving. Take a swig of your water here. You may cross 1,000 rivers before you find a peaceful road. You may feel 1,000 shivers before you find a way out of the cold. You may climb 1,000 mountains before you really see the sky. You may fall 1,000 times before you learn to truly fly. So just take one more step. Soon you're past the night. So just take one more breath. Step into the light. You may feel 1,000 heartaches before you know how to love. You may see 1,000 clouds before you look up above. You may meet 1,000 people before you really find a friend. And you may hurt 1,000 times before your soul begins to mend. So just take one more step, and soon you're past the night. So just take one more breath. Step into the light. So just take one more step. Soon you're past the night. So just take one more breath. Step into the light. So just take